Serious ex-convicts of Reddit. How common is sexual abuse in prison really? Not very common. Definitely not nearly as common as media portrays it to be. What really happens when you drop your soap in the shower? I think they just pick it up and continue bathing. It's rare unless it's something you actually want. From a fear perspective, getting in debt to other inmates is far more dangerous. Also, if you are seen as someone who has access to money on the outside, you may be victimized into having an inmate's commissary account credited. Doesn't a guy get like extra punishment for sexually harassing in jail? They do get in trouble. Most people here won't know, but you do get in trouble for giving and receiving. It's a huge no to do anything like that for every single gang in jail. No homosexual activity, no matter what it is. And if they find you're fucking another guy, you're getting punished harshly. Wait, is rape the problem or homosexual activity the problem? My dad's an ex-con. He spent about 10 years of his life in total in the prison system. From what he said, it's not really common. From the times he's witnessed it, it was people who got what was coming to them. That is, rapists and molesters. How do prisoners find out about the crimes other prisoners commit? Can the prisoners just lie about what they did to other prisoners? Or do the guards tell everyone? The corrections officers wouldn't keep a kiddie perf secret to themselves. So the guards are the ones that tell everyone about the crimes. Worked in a prison. I was listening to a podcast recently where the guest is an ex-con. He said that in male prisons rape does not happen often, and homosexuality is looked down upon. Many times gay men need to be placed in protective custody, because they are in danger of being assaulted, and even killed, if Gen Pop finds out they are gay. My mother and father have both spent time in jail. My father says it's not often. My mother says it was far more often for her. I've been watching 60 Days In, and the women are way more sexual. Uncle and cousin were both guards here in Australia. Not very common. Unless you're a pedo, then you better pray your protected unit assignment doesn't get misplaced. Inmates find out very rapidly if you're in for sex offenses. And there's a very real street justice in prisons. Otherwise, if you don't wanna play with Ms. Palmer, there's almost always a gay guy around with whom you can reach an arrangement. It took me a second to get the Ms. Palmer joke. Former officer here. It's nowhere near as much as Hollywood makes it out to be for a number of reasons. First, actual forced rape and sexual assault requires a lot of effort. Second, there are usually a number of sisses. This is a prison term for overly effeminate homosexuals. I'm not trying to use a derogatory term to insult people that are willing to give it up. Lastly, the Prison Rape Elimination Act brings down heavy penalties for people involved in sexual acts even if it's consensual. Does it happen? Absolutely, but not very often. It's not common to fake. If you float that way, there are guys who are gay and will do the do. A lot of people are not going to do any sexual stuff. It singles you out, regardless of their desires. My dad's a prison officer. I can answer this. It's very rare actually, but then again, his prison is a young offenders unit. Do you know what security level the prison is? No clue. It's more common for sexual abuse to happen in things like halfway houses than prisons. I never saw or heard about it. We were in Medline one day and there are pre-posters all over the place and I asked, do you guys know anyone who has been sexually assaulted in prison? If you were sexually assaulted in prison, would you tell anyone? I don't know how much it actually happens. My brother was in for 3 years. He said the only time it happened, or that he saw, this big guy kept giving this young kid free stuff. My brother and other warned him not accept things from and to not trust that guy. The kid was too young to see that he was just grooming him. My bro said one night the kid went to restroom and the big guy followed. He had to learn the hard way. No pun intended. I hope the young dude shit all over the other dude. It is not common these days. I heard it used to be a very big problem a decade or more ago though. Extortion is a problem though. People will try to take your stuff if they deem you weak. I spent all of my time getting high, reading books, playing cards and listening to the radio. I never had any big problems with anyone. I just stayed in my lane and chilled. It was sketchy sometimes though, because I smoke cigs and sometimes there wouldn't be much tobacco on compound, and I had some, so I would have to watch my back when smoking, because the last thing you want is some nicotine-starved gang members seeing a lone unaffiliated white guy smoking a cig. Usually no one smoked a cig to themselves. They would share it with 2 friends. I always got 2 of my friends that smoked and shared drugs with me whenever I smoked, so that was probably a deterrent from messing with me. BC they were in the strongest white gang there is. Semicolon. The only thing that ever happened to me that could be deemed sexual abuse was when a female CO walked to the entrance of the shower to tell me that it was almost time for count. That's bullshit. She just wanted to look. I figured fuck it, and turned around completely to face her, and didn't try to cover anything up. She gave me a big smile, and told me I didn't have to come out for count if I didn't want to. She was gross. A lot of the female COS were really slutty, and you could tell that they loved having power and being lusted over, and got zero attention in the free world. How do people smoke and do drugs so freely in prison? Don't guards see you and bust you? Tobacco is allowed in prisons. It's a valuable commodity. In fact, inmates will use it as currency. Drugs are smuggled in. If I were to ever go to prison, I would trade tobacco. I don't smoke myself, but it's a good way of getting things. I've done 17 in, and never did anyone get raped. In California GP, any homosexual activity get you removed from wood car. Wood car? What does that mean? Maybe wood carving, as in working in the wood carving workshop making tables, or whatever, but I don't know. Just a wild guess. Oh, that makes sense, I guess. Cheers. A car is your people. Woods are white people / white gangs. Worked at a county jail for 3 years and we never had it happen. Prison system is a whole other beast, but, as others have said here, it's not as common as jokes and media portrayed from what I've heard. Where I was not very common, there were more than enough willing people in prison, if you weren't content just tugging it. Granted, it wasn't in long but long enough to hear about a kiddie diddler being beaten half to death in the showers. Maybe they raped him, maybe they didn't. But if they did, he deserved it. Goofs don't deserve the breath they waste, and it was only in similar scenarios, when they want to really take everything from you, that it happens. Yeah, but there's always the risk he was innocent. Might, but unlikely. But the American legal system isn't set up for justice, and fucked up things happen. Yeah, but guys don't wait on maybes. They hear it, and go talk to him, basically interrogate, and if the story doesn't match up, that's it. The statistics are probably different in men's and women's prisons. Most of what I was aware of, or heard, was consensual, or one was transgender. Remember that the definition of rape, and especially child molestation, is different in different states. That said, if it's found out, or even suspected, that you fucked with someone considered too young by the boss, you can expect a lifer to take one for the team and rape you with whatever object they can find, or just kill you. My brother spent 8 years in the pen, and was always fearful, because he was a skinny guy that didn't commit a violent crime, and because he refused to join the Peckerwood gang. When he started to feel like some shit was gonna happen, he would start a fight in clear view of the guards, so that they could break it up, before he got too hurt and throw him in the hole for a couple weeks. 8 years broke him, all because he refused to join a gang, and subsequently spent half of that time in solitary just trying to avoid getting killed. Very rare. Not much. I've seen where someone sodomized another with foreign object, because of the crime they committed. Also mutual arrangements from time to time. I spent a bit of time in Australians' prisons doing consulting work. It doesn't seem very common. Boredom and drug addiction seem bigger issues to deal with. My son spent some time in prison, and he told me of a gay couple living in a shared cell without problems. This is in the UK. White boys are called Woods, short for Pecker Woods. I was in a prison that rioted for a long time and police didn't care what inmates did to each other, and I've seen some people get passed around to get raped. It was mostly guys that didn't get along with others and were alone. So it was crucial to find a group of people that think like you and accept you in their group, and only then you are relatively safe. Varies depending on facility, but not as common as media portrays. It does happen though. I did 2 years in UK prison. You hear rumors of people being raped and stuff, but never in my time did I know anyone or know of anyone that had been abused. The fuck did you do? Young, dumb, armed and broke. Gotcha. Hopefully you're in a better spot now. I would assume it's more of a punishment for doing something a fellow inmate didn't like as opposed to just being a random occurrence. My uncle had some sexual abuse done to him, and he killed the guy, so he got out more time in prison, but as the only one I know,